It don't matter what I try, I just can't win and I don't know why. There's a fork in every road, I pick the wrong one and then I go. American loser, yes I am, disenfranchised from everything. Well, I fall up and I fall down, an American loser the day I was born.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of American Loser, guys. It is the podcast that puts the spotlight firmly on second place. My name's KP Burke. I used to be a stand-up comic back when that field still existed. My dad's still a DILF, though, aren't you?
We're doing our best. We're doing our best.
So as much as it was a fun thing to call you a DILF up front on the show, but now it's getting to the point where we're getting too many DMs about you.
Okay.
All right. You
You
are happily married to my saint of a mother, who, by the way, if you're a Patreon listener, we want to say thank you so much for all your support of the show. And Saint Sandy Burke herself sent out all of your merch the other day. So stickers, buttons, all sorts of good stuff, a little handwritten letter from me. And that's just our way of saying thank you so much. You guys are the reason this show is allowed to stay free on Tuesdays, and we give you the bonus content too. Just our way of saying thank you and Merry Christmas. And if you're Stu Greenberg, I guess Happy Hanukkah, whatever you do, Stu. Right?
It's a little late, but happy nonetheless.
It is what it is on that one. But no, we love the fans on the show here. Where could we be other than a Shared Universe podcast studio in Eatontown, New Jersey? Mike and Ming taking great care of us. The Kahuna's behind the ones and twos. How are you, bud?
What's up, gentlemen? How are you, buddy?
Yeah.
I know. Well, we're not going to rush this one, but we are going to get you out of here on time. I promise you that, my friend. We have a returning guest, one of my great pals in comedy, one of my favorite people to talk to. Captain Chaos himself. All right. Honestly, he's the kind of guy that you can talk about something inane and then all of a sudden it turns into a discussion on quantum physics to prove the inane point correct. So the man who ruined Back to the Future for me yesterday inside of 10 seconds, none other than the returning guest, the man who brought to our attention that America had an emperor in the Emperor Norton episode.
Right.
I never want to hear Back to the Future mentioned from you again. Never, because I'd never want that ruined for me.
It's a doozy, but today's also a doozy. This is another thing that he casually helped inform me about, this topic. But let's introduce the guest, Eric Albert, returning to the show.
What's happening? Thanks for having me back.
Oh, are you kidding, man? No, you were, first of all, no other guest would I ever send a car to pick up and bring down, okay?
That's right. Sent the Uber driver.
Well, yeah, nobody else has, issues with their driver's license like I do.
Oh, man. No, but we had to pick you up on this one. But the good news is we get a chance to shoot the shit and everything, too.
Of course.
I'm getting ready to head back down to Jacksonville. One thing, though, we always talk about New Jersey on this show. And it's a state that I'm very proud to be from. My father born and raised here. Kahuna born and raised here, right?
I was raised in Fraggle Rock. What are you talking about?
Well, you brought the New Yorker in for this one.
We did, and you have some info on this one that was pretty exciting for me. So I'm going to try to set this one up. We're going to see how long we can keep the Kahuna confused as to what we're talking about.
Okay.
So,
I like these games.
This one hurts, buddy.
Yeah, right.
This one hurts pretty good.
It's a little dark chapter in the history of this country.
Hence the American Loser topic today.
This is perfect loser fodder here. So if you're tired of the kind of and roll your eyes at the platitude in any political discussion nowadays, whenever someone gets called a Nazi, right? Anything that I don't agree with means that you're a Nazi. That's how it works. And it's one of those things I joke around about that my grandfather, my mom's dad, he actually fought the Nazis. He had a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart.
My grandfather, too.
No shit.
Navy guy.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's wild, man. Grandpa Marty was in the Army combat engineers, and if he came back today, he'd be concerned. He goes, wow, everyone's Nazis nowadays? All you have to do? That's one political disagreement, and everyone's a Nazi? I remember when Nazis were, guys shooting back at me.
Right.
But anyway, there are, by the way, this is crazy here. Let's not pretend that there's not. There are definitely legit neo-Nazi groups in America. Nobody's denying that. You'd be stupid to do so. Yeah. But the term neo means new, right? Meaning that they have to differentiate themselves from the old Nazis.
Whoa.
Yeah, so today's episode explores some wild ideas and is probably going to be best enjoyed by you, the listener, if you put yourself into the zeitgeist, the spirit of the times, right? We know how this story ends.
Zeitgeist? Is that where we're bringing in the German already?
That's
Zeitgeist,
speaking
right?
German.
Yeah.
So
I thought neo-Nazis just knew Kung Fu.
The first of several Matrix jokes that will be made here today, I'm sure. But this is where it gets a little bit crazy, man. You don't know about the pure evil that we know them now to be associated with, these Nazis, right? They had to start from somewhere. They had to come from something. So don't use the Monday morning quarterback kind of a thing. Don't use the rearview mirror thing where you know hindsight's 20/20. Try to put yourself into the times here and see how you could what would be your honest feelings about this group before we realize the utter and complete total evil that they were. So
the spoiler alert hasn't really happened just yet.
Nope.
It's just
Spoiler alert.
another little fun group here that might have some different ideas that, hey, who knows? Maybe that would work.
Well, that's the thing. How much pure evil is innocently walking around in our own backyard? That's the time frame of what we're going to be talking about here today. Kahuna, good news, buddy. Patreon listeners have donated a lot of money. We're sending you to summer camp.
Oh, I get to go to summer camp?
We got a fun summer camp for you, buddy. And, well, I mean, it's going to have a bunch of things. Eric, tell him what else is going to be around there. But he's going to have archery. There's pools you can go swimming in. Trails for them to go hiking on. There's bands, parties.
Yeah.
This is great.
A little Oktoberfest celebration, a little early, even though it's at the summer camp.
Okay.
You'll be staying in wonderful palatial Long Island.
Not bad.
Okay.
So,
Upper echelon.
yeah, that's the people up there got a little bit of money. You know what I mean? So now we're going to also have the
Not quite
Oktoberfest.
the Hamptons, though.
No. Ironically, this camp is located near modern-day Fire Island.
True.
So if you want to know where Mike Piazza and Sam Champion have been hanging out, it's
That's actually Edgardo Alfonso that was the gay Met. It wasn't Piazza.
are we inside baseballing a baseball joke? That was fantastic.
One of my buddies was a beat writer for the Mets, so I know this one.
What did I tell you guys earlier? Eric's the kind of friend that you turn him upside down and shake him, and then just interesting shit pops out of his head at all times.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm not going to name drop the guy because he still works for MLB, and I don't want that getting out that he was the one that told me.
Okay.
Understood. Yeah, we don't need any more lawsuits on this show.
Inside baseball.
Well, we're setting you up. Kahuna's going to summer camp, baby, and it's going to be great, dude. Oktoberfest beers, which, by the way, the traditional Oktoberfest in Germany is actually celebrated in August. So that's kind
This
of
is
interesting.
just getting better and better. I'm like,
And,
okay.
hot
Well, that's
chicks.
because of, the Julian calendar. 2 months got added in, so October was actually 2 months earlier.
Okay.
Is this man not living up to his reputation?
Yeah, I was just like,
Right.
But
We'll just add in 2 months in the middle of nowhere. We'll name them after Roman emperors, and here we go. Oh, wait. October is the 10th month. Why is oct, which normally means 8,
Right.
the 10th month? Because we ham-fisted July and August for Julius and Augustus Caesar.
Okay.
oh, man.
Another empire that kind of failed. Romans.
well, yeah, and there definitely is a correlation between the two on this one because the guy definitely we've talked about it before that Kaiser and Tsar both came from the word Caesar. That was the Russian and German interpretations of Caesar.
And Hitler loved to play the fiddle.
Yeah. Also, a
Why
true
do you know
story.
that?
That was not real.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was.
But
a
if you
Nero
say it with
joke.
an authoritative voice, you can get away with a lot of bullshit.
Now, Eric's very convincing on that one here. So that's why if we put Eric in charge of this camp, it would have worked out pretty good, I think. Only catch, right? I'm selling you a pretty good camp so far, right, Cahoons?
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing there. So in order to get you access to these bands, these parties, and this cool summer camp up in Long Island, hanging out with hot chicks and drinking Oktoberfest beers all day, the only catch is you have to swear your allegiance to the leader of another country. All right?
Okay.
Maybe not a country that, you've never been to before, but you don't have any bad feelings about, right? Whatever. You're just you're 15, dude.
Going to summer camp for free.
Going to summer camp. That's
This is
it.
great.
Make the move. Swear allegiance to another country. It is what it is. You're not at war with them or anything, right?
Yeah, no.
Right.
Wait.
Not a bad guy. Kind of a funny looking little guy with a.
Yeah, Charlie Chaplin's kind of
Charlie,
making fun
yeah,
of him.
Oh,
you know.
no.
It's a weird thing. I like to think I wouldn't, but it's very hard to tell what people really thought of the Nazi Party and Adolf Hitler before it became glaringly apparent that we were going to be heading to war with them, and that the guy doing these mass exterminations was a little bit more than just a goofy dictator who wanted to kind of clean up the streets of Germany.
Yeah, funny little guy with a mustache. Former life, he was a wallpaper hanger, but I mean, how bad?
This is what happens when you fuck over an artist.
Yeah,
right.
That really is the truth. It's way, way up there in Long Island, hilariously close to, like I said, what we call Fire Island, is a town called Yaphank, New York. Eric, you ever been?
No, I have not.
Okay. Now, there's a tie-in here eventually to the great state of New Jersey, and another one of our little shameful chapters. And Lawrence Patrick Burke has some interesting experiences over there. So this was the location.
I went to summer camp there? No.
Yes. Well, we're about to find out, aren't we? Now, keep in mind, guys, I'm adopted, so I'm nothing but Irish. And good old Larry here, German-Irish.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a weird thing.
And then my crazy lineage of, German, Austrian, and Hungarian with quite a bit of Mongolian gypsy in there.
Okay.
Yeah, the proverbial mutt.
Conquering people.
It's wild. It's intense. It's goofy here. But guys, the topic is very simple. We're going to be talking about a camp known as Camp Siegfried. It was up in New York. This was a summer retreat.
They trained tigers there.
That was the location of a family-friendly summer camp that was geared specifically towards German Americans and specifically towards German youths who fit this certain description. They wanted Nordic-looking, non-Jewish males. That's what they were recruiting heavily at this camp here. Right? So trying to put together a little Aryan army, if you will.
So like the opposite of what they were recruiting for the train line?
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. It was intense times, too, because keep in mind, there's a lot. You could say that you were, I'm of German heritage. Why wouldn't I be allowed to go to this German retreat? Like, if we're really not looking for Jews, it seems to be a little bit of a problem.
Yeah. You had to pass a checklist of do's and don'ts that before you could
Do's and don'ts.
get access to, and it wasn't just boys; it was boys and girls. I mean, it was
Yes.
it was both.
We'll get into that.
From 8 to 18, I think was the age limit. So,
Well, the Long Island Railroad actually ran a weekend morning train from Yorkville, Manhattan, that would essentially drop people off at the little German family summer retreat known as Camp Siegfried.
Every time I hear trains and anything Nazi related, I get very, very concerned real quick, even though we're in the middle of the U.S.
It wasn't a cattle car.
I know it wasn't, but still, I'm just like, uh-oh. Anytime I hear trains with any of this shit, I'm just like, oh, fuck.
You get nervous because you know something. These people at the time didn't.
Yeah,
kinda
they
crazy to
knew that
think
the
about?
trains would be on time.
Yeah, there's a lot of fascism and communism are kind of duking it out over in Europe around this time frame. And Yorkville, by the way, a neighborhood on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, was very famous at the time for its strong German population.
Right.
At the outbreak of World War I, the two biggest ethnic populations in America were, give me a guess, Cahoons.
No.
I know Eric probably knows it. So
I don't-
we're talking about one of them.
It's the Germans.
Germans and Italians? I don't
yeah,
know.
well, the Italians were very
Italians are
big
going to
too,
come, but at the outbreak of World War I, it's German and Irish, which got
okay.
really interesting for them because now the U.S. is saying, well, hey, we're going to go to war with Germany to defend Britain. So now you're pissing off the Germans. Like, hey, wait, we got to go fight our cousins? And then the Irish are sitting there like, no, we got to go help England? We just came over.
We
We're
just
trying to
escaped
avoid
from
those guys.
Right. Yeah, the Germans, the Irish, and also the Italians that were a very large makeup of the overall population of the U.S., either firstborn or ancestors of.
Well, we leaned on the Irish side because they helped us build the railroad.
That's the Long Island Railroad that is now taking some of these German kids
Yep,
up to this Camp Siegfried.
Patty on the railway. But yeah, talking about the railroad, the Long Island Railroad would run, as you said, Kev, special trains on the weekends out to Camp Siegfried to go from Yorkville, Manhattan, to out to Long Island to
Very
the Outback.
special.
Well, it's interesting here at the time too. Post World War I Germany, to me, arguably the most fascinating thing going on in human history ever. All right, this crazy guy named Hitler is rising to power with this Nazi party of National Socialists. They're constantly at war in the streets, trying to keep Germany from falling into the hands of the communists, which they're scared shitless of communism because Russia used to be, and that was an autocratic nation. There was a czar over there. And there were cousins. They all kind of knew each other. So that entire royal family got turned over and murdered by the rising Bolsheviks, right? There's also a lot of things. Anti-Semitism, a lot of the original paperwork has its roots in Russia around that time frame because they were going against like Rasputin and everything here too. So
There was a cartoon about it.
it's oh man, little Anastasia joke.
Anastasia, yeah.
I told you he's good. So, But they're pretty fascinating, man. Hitler's rising to power over here. This Nazi party is interesting because they're highly effective, and their charismatic, goofy leader, Adolf Hitler, is at least tackling the issues facing Germany at the time head on, and even crazier, this guy's getting results.
Yeah,
Post
World War I, I mean, Germany is in total in the shitter. I mean, there's a worldwide depression, but Germany is really
they were
really
sanctioned against that. They
right.
couldn't do anything because
right.
they were like, "Hey, we were winning World War I, but we kind of just edged it out at the end and lost." And the guys that won were like, "Well, that can't happen again. Fuck you. You can't do a damn thing."
Right.
No army, no navy, no quote unquote Air Force at the time because, biplanes and bullshit. They couldn't produce anything for war because it would have been seen as an act of war.
Right.
Guess what sneaks just under the radar for more of a science program? Rockets. Germany gets very, very good with rockets, as we covered in the Gus Grissom episode,
right,
and also a couple other episodes too. Werner von Braun.
Werner von Braun, the Disney guy. Yes,
we upset Kahuna a little bit in that episode. I think.
That was
I have the rockets.
The only problem is
V2,
which becomes the A4. Dr. David Warmflash taught us that one, man.
It's not the Bell though. So then we'll get back to time travel.
Well, time travel would be interesting for this one because could you imagine being around in 1938 and Time magazine is proclaiming Adolf Hitler as the man of the year? It's a true story.
That actually did happen. I was
Yep.
could you? I was like, that did happen.
Yeah, but going back in time, like, oh, I wound up in somewhere weird dystopian future. Nope, that's happening. This was the correct timeline here.
Well, I mean, you go back to Time's Man of the Year and you look at who it was for each year. It's not always congruent with, something good.
Yeah.
Right.
I think FDR was a two-time winner. Stalin, two-time winner. Gandhi had won it in 1930. So it's...
Was that the year he raped that chick?
Oh, Jesus, Eric.
Jesus, man. Come on.
Oh, my God. All right. Well, enough about that. We're getting sued for this one. We know that much.
Here goes the podcast. But
his estate doesn't have any money.
Well, here's some ideas, right, that Hitler has. Everyone should have a car, or at least a Volkswagen.
The people's wagon.
The Autobahn should probably, that sounds like a good idea. Let's get that going here. Maybe we're going to unify the German provinces and create a 20th century version of the Holy Roman Empire while reversing the abysmal dire straits that Germany was facing in the post-World War I economic collapse, right? But just
Public Works, get everybody working, get everybody a job, get a paycheck coming in, and
get a sense of pride.
We're moving as far as
build the roads, build the things that will go on the roads, and then give you money for vacations and build the places to go on vacation at.
He was very effective. This economic turnaround, kind of mind-blowing, right? And then on top of that.
Again, we're in the middle of a depression, so he's given people a job. Their money is now coming in. Plus, there's a complete change around from World War I, where that whole defeatist attitude, if you will, that it really wasn't a victory dance that the Allies were doing, and actually the end of World War I, there was an armistice. It was just a ceasefire kind of a thing. But then the Allies put such restrictions on Germany that their economy just totally collapsed. So he's instilling some nationalistic pride. He's pointing the finger of blame on the Jews and the old guard, if you will, that kind of sold out the German people. So, there was a sense of it wasn't your fault that we lost this war. We had to sign this armistice. It was somebody else betrayed us.
They betrayed you,
right?
Yeah.
But you mean getting behind your country and believing in it would actually help the country, be better?
Hard to believe, right? A little sense of national pride. All of a sudden, maybe people are. Maybe there's something special about these German people because that's a lot of the stuff they're digging up. Well, anyway, this Hitler guy's solving a lot of problems. The turnaround's going on over here, and the only thing is just don't get him talking too loud about the Jews. That seems to be his big thing, right? This Nazi party wants to last forever. And a big part of making sure that you have a legacy to leave behind is always going to be where? With the children, the youth of today, the leaders of tomorrow. And this was apparent in Germany, where the Hitler Youth had been in existence since 1922. Hitler had some big plans for the future leaders of the Nazi Empire. The brainwashing would be on full display during the late 20s and the 1930s to ensure that the Nazi army that eventually would be fighting the entire world, that great Norm Macdonald joke, Germany picked as its opponent, not once but twice, the entire world.
Right.
And it was close. So, but yeah, 1920s and 30s here, all this stuff's going on in Germany, getting real interesting, whatnot here. But now what he needs that Hitler kind of had, first of all, bad guy. I think we can all agree on that. Okay?
Yeah. Well, let's not sugarcoat this.
Yeah. I'm willing to take a stand and say
Monster?
I'm against Hitler, personally, guys. But anyway, he is a genius, though, because if you start recruiting and brainwashing these kids when they're in their formative, like 12 to 15 years old, that's when you get them, these guys are going to be ready, willing, and able to fight this war that's coming, that is on its way. Okay? So he started, got to get them while they're young. It's like cigarettes. So, but the brainwashing is certainly happening here because he's getting these. His army in the Nazis is now going to be made up by adults that have pledged their loyalty to the cause since a very young age. So, it almost is becoming, Father Hitler. If you will.
Early onset brainwashing.
Right. Have not known anything else other than complete
Compliance.
obedience to the Führer.
Well, Hitler's pretty much in charge of every part of your life at this point too. But by diving into some mysticism that was regarding the Aryan blood in the Germans, is known as again, Eric, the master race. But we're going to say something.
In quotes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, Hitler was in charge in Europe, but I mean, we're talking about a camp in
Long Island,
New York. I mean, Hitler wasn't here.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
It's very weird, though, because that mysticism about this purity of the Aryan blood and the Germans as the master race, that probably sounds pretty good, too? Germans.
Yeah.
That's that they have their ILAC tag. I am loving and capable. I'm special. They get a little star on their chest, But it becomes pretty easy to see why. Star? Exactly. I was waiting for that one. It became pretty... It becomes very easy to see why telling a teenage German boy that he was a borderline superhuman. Add in some fun summer camp trips, and you got yourself a positive feeling about the Nazi party all the way over here in America. So, like we said, Hitler is pretty much sealed. Actually, what's it, 1933, Dad? He's pretty much consolidated all of his power?
Right. He's large and in charge by 33, but he's absolutely forming a plan. And, at the same time, his overall goal is to rule the world, let's face it. But he's got to do it in small bites at a time, if you will, at least initially to start off. So although he wants to spread the Nazi ideology out to the world and start to lay the groundwork with some of these youth camps, in Germany they started the Hitler Youth movement, but he was going to expand that into the United States. But at the same time, he's not looking to go to war with the United States.
Actually, he needed to keep them neutral. That was the goal.
Right. To keep them neutral for as long as possible. Let me deal with the European side of things.
Side note, fuck Eatontown, all right? This goddamn hellhole. Sorry if you guys just had to hear an ambulance or a cop car go by, but it's a shithole, this town. Anyway.
But they're essential workers.
Sorry to cut you off there, but it is what it is. We got to make do with it. Now, interestingly enough, like you said, Dad, he wants to unify Germany, so he's getting this German spirit, right? The sense of nationalism and pride. He's getting everything swelled up over there. And the reason why he's curious about, Germany over here, Germany's curious about the United States, I should say, is because there's a large German population over there. So, these guys they're still Germans. They're just in another spot. So let's get a good positive vibe going for them over there. Eric, I'm terrified anytime you start writing notes. What do you got, brother?
Oh, no. It's for later. Don't worry. I have to find the perfect corollary.
A good teaser for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah, and again...
Well, it'll get there. Don't worry. I just got to find the right spot.
That doesn't make me any less scared.
Set us up for success here, LP.
No, but I was saying, again, there's a worldwide depression going on. So a lot of people are looking at what's going on in Germany that, hey, this funny little guy with the mustache is making shit happen in Germany. And we're still in the shitter here in the United States with the depression. So, there's an uptick in people thinking, well, maybe communism is the best way to go. Maybe this whole fascist thing is the way to go. It's certainly helping Germany, and there's another little guy in Italy, Benito Mussolini, that's making some shit happen. At least he's making the trains run on time in Italy. So, maybe there's something going on that there's something to be said for that. I mean, I think the vast majority of people saying that you can recognize that this guy is not to be trusted, not to, don't place any bets on Hitler. But at the same time, shit ain't happening right now. I mean, FDR, our president, is trying to put forth these various programs to get people back to work, because there's bread lines, there's soup lines, unemployment is huge here in the United States. So shit ain't really all rosy here in the United States.
We got
either.
our own problems. I'm not concerned about what's going on in the country I left.
Maybe it's time to look at something else that might work out for us.
Yeah, I mean, even the baseball players in the offseason had to sell cars.
Well, it's true. Also, another interesting thing about FDR is if you talk to true communists, they hate FDR because they say that he bastardized a lot of the visions of communism by creating these government programs. So that he took them and infused them with some capitalist ideas. So it's a weird vibe. There's FDR doesn't have a whole lot of friends. A lot of critics, not a whole lot of friends. But you're in literally, this is the Schitt's Creek without a paddle portion of the United States' history too. But the idea is that Hitler's going to use this German pride and kind of build a bridge of sorts to get this positive image in America about his Nazi party over in Germany. So he intended to make sure that the future leaders of the United States were Aryans, because that'll be an easier way to sell him on, like, hey, let's work together. Germany, America, come on, we got a thing going here, right? So even if the Americans have no clue what's coming up, Hitler's still sitting there trying to get allies so that he can have them set up for a later date. So now, who were Hitler's friends of the Nazi party in America? Dad, what do you know about Fritz Julius Kuhn?
Well, Fritzy, he was
Call him Fritzy already.
Fritzy, yeah. He's a veteran of World War I for the German side. Again, he's upset.
Not just a veteran. He was awarded the Iron Cross, which is essentially the Medal of Honor for Germany.
A war hero of the German nation from World War I. He's a smart guy. He's got his master's in chemical engineering. Early 30s, he comes to the United States. So he's not an American citizen, but 2 years after arriving in the United States, he gains American citizenship.
He's a dreamer.
So, yeah. Now, there was...
And he's not the only one.
Yeah. There's speculation that, the Nazis in Germany are now sending delegates, if you will, to worldwide to try to promote this whole German nationalistic spirit and start some of these German youth camps.
Oh yeah, they were all over the globe doing that. But like you guys brought up earlier, Russia was doing that too because they want to have their fingers in everything. And the weird thing that nobody really ever talks about is Africa. Like the northern coast of Africa and the occupation of Russia and Germany in that time was insane. Like they basically used that as their laboratory to the point where Stalin's scientists were using apes to try and crossbreed with humans and become super soldiers.
What?
Yeah, so movies like Overlord and stuff, Castle Wolfenstein, all that stuff, video games. Yeah,
Did you just mention Overlord, one of the most slept-on movies of the last few years?
This is a fantastic.
That's a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
There's a couple things that annoy me about it, but we'll get into that at another time.
Is it the use of the soundtrack? Because it's not period specific.
Well, it's also the use of the 101st Airborne, but it's anyway. That doesn't. We have to talk
got a
about
lot of problems,
but it's not a stretch for them to have a sci-fi thing that they got to be dealing with over there because the Germans were just kind of that bad. Right?
Oh yeah, no. The Russians were actually trying to breed humans with orangutans, and had they realized that chimps were closer, they may have been successful.
Oh, Jesus!
I told you we were going to upset the boy today, right?
By the way, that's what I was writing down.
We're going to upset.
All right, so you got it in there. You got it in.
I did.
big
I knew
reveal
we'd
here.
get there eventually.
Well, so Dad, he does come to America, and we have a little loserception here, the first of many. Fritz Julius Kuhn, who again has a master's degree in chemical engineering. I think the Nazis like to mess around with some of that stuff. That's going to be a guy that's on their list, if you will. but he makes it over to America, and he's living in Detroit. And guess where he's working at the time? You want to guess where he's working?
In Detroit?
In Detroit, so big sign here, the Ford Motor Company.
Ford Motor Company. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and while he's over here, I mean, there's a lot of in Germany. There's the New German attitude, New Germany, and there's different clubs or associations, whatever you want to call it, leagues that now in America they're doing the same type of thing. You got to remember that there's a very large American population that comes from German heritage. And in Detroit, New York, New Jersey, I mean, throughout the United States, there's a large German population that are either first or second generation German, and they start setting up this New Germany kind of a club or association, Friends of New Germany. There was a New German attitude in Germany itself, so now they're just bringing it across the Atlantic into America. The Friends of New Germany then morphed into the German-American Bund. Now, Bund is a German word that means alliance, so it's just the German-American Club, just as we have the Irish-American Club, the Italian-American Club, the Polish-American Club. Well, this
Knights
just
of
happened to be the
Columbus.
German-American, the German-American Club, the Bund.
Which is interesting because Kuhn's going to become the leader of the German-American Bund.
He is.
And that organization is essentially the one that goes on to run the infamous Camp Siegfried. So this camp is seen as a family-friendly place. German pride on full display, traditional German food, beer, and music.
And lederhosen.
And yes, well, and again, you have the
Well,
girls.
that's all part of your German
Yeah.
heritage.
And the chicks are dressed like St. Pauli's girls. I mean, what young man wouldn't go there and be like, all right, so I'll hear these guys out. This is, let me hear your pitch about a timeshare.
Speaking of which, I'm going to grab another beer.
Right behind me, actually. Drinking Ross IPA here on the show today, guys, so everybody knows. But shout out to John Kokoza and the boys. But again, this camp is seen as a family-friendly place. And by the way, it's a well-attended camp, too. On German Pride Days, when they'd have like these national parties for people of German heritage, as many as 40,000 people would attend this camp.
Yeah, this wasn't just a small little faction type of a thing. And
I got a lot of fellow campers.
That's right. And everybody from the neighborhood, all your buddies from the neighborhood are probably going to be there as well because, again, New York and New Jersey has a very large German-American population. But this is not just limited to Long Island. This is throughout the United States that by the end of the 30s, there are now 19 different camps that are similar to Camp Siegfried. We're just zoning in on Siegfried right now because that was one of the better known or more populated ones, and you're running special trains out to this camp during the summer for the weekend specials and the various German-American celebrations.
Yeah. And again, we know how this movie ends. We know the pure evil that's on its way, but camps and trains, kind of a German thing here, right? It's definitely a gross way to start off talking about it, but the good times that they're having over at the trains, at the camps and everything, is actually a little bit of a trade-off for the boys of the camp. While they certainly enjoyed the outdoors, the parties they were getting to have, and then the encouraging attitudes given to them by adults saying like, hey, see that German girl over there? The one with the blonde hair and blue eyes? Yeah, you should go, you two should go spend some time together out in the woods. So I like to think that I wouldn't have joined, first of all, I'm Irish, so I don't know if they would have had me.
But you got the blue eyes and blonde hair.
I have blue-eyed blonde hair with Nordic looks.
Speaking of you guys, you're making the joke that I would go. Look at me.
Well, we'd have to have some alterations. But we'll sneak in.
It's a weird thing. I'd like to think I wouldn't do it, but if you set me up and you're like, oh, yeah, you see that girl who looks like Alicia Silverstone over there? Yeah, you should go have sex with her. I'd be like, oh, whatever this Hitler guy says, I mean, I'll hear him out.
Right.
I'm a patient guy.
It's your duty.
Yeah. You have to pledge your allegiance to... Yeah, okay, sorry. But, it's weird, man. So they're just trying to set up a bunch of blonde hair, blue-eyed people to mix up with other blonde hair, blue-eyed people. If you were Jewish, you kind of weren't allowed to. They were weird about this. If you were non-Jewish and a Aryan male, though, you were required to take part in paramilitary training as part of your welcoming stay here at
a little
Camp
ROTC
Siegfried
program.
Yeah, just a little discipline. Get some confidence in these boys,
It's a Germans kind of Boy Scouts that we're going to go out and into the woods and
is
hunt tents.
upsetting. Yeah.
And actually, the kids, the youth, are responsible for the construction of a large part of the infrastructure of the camps. So,
and we found out that there's two reasons for that. One is the idea that these kids are going to help build the camp because it's cheaper. You don't have to bring in anybody else. You get free labor out of the kids, right?
Yeah, they built the Southern State Parkway.
Mm-hmm. Wait a minute.
No, I'm fucking around.
he had you going though.
He did for a second. I saw that look.
The only reason I stopped myself is because he hit me with the Mandela effect on the way down and convinced me of a memory that I never had being true. So I told you again, Eric Albert, you got to be careful with him. He's he is the Cheshire cat of my life. But anyway, so you do use these kids now to build this camp, and that serves two purposes. One, it's the idea of like, oh, we're giving you some pride in your work here. You're building this camp. It's something to do for these kids during the day. Then also, you don't have to hire the labor unions, right, which is important to them for two reasons. One, it's cheaper. You're not bringing in the labor unions. And then number two, the Germans, as smart as they were, had some misconceptions about a couple of things. They erroneously thought that because of the heads of like the manufacturing unions and stuff like that, which is mostly Jewish leaders for manufacturing, the garment district, stuff like that.
Textiles.
Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire, for those who want to remember that one.
Oh.
Okay. A lot of union leaders of Jewish faith and culture became, big names in that thing. And that's where a lot of the reforms came from. They didn't realize that they just heard union and they said, oh, it must be all unions have, Jewish leadership. So they didn't want to deal with them. Meanwhile, they were kind of wrong. What they needed would have been like Carpenters Union, the electricians, stuff like that. And it's
Teamsters.
My one great buddy that I knew out in the Navy, he was Duran Alisarov. He had a great line. He was born in Israel, and he had a great joke about it. He goes talking about manual labor. He goes, "The Jews haven't done manual labor since the pyramids." So that was his go-to joke on this one. But now you got the boys out there. So yeah, it's great. You get to hook up with, hot German chicks. You get to have these big parties. You're drinking Oktoberfest beer, polka music's playing, Why wouldn't these guys, it's worth it. But also life's not exactly great for them. There's a discipline aspect to it. The ROTC thing. You have to listen to German philosophers come and speak to you. You have to go to these meetings at night where they keep drilling it into your head that Hitler's actually the only guy who's really fighting for you and blah, blah, blah. And, this German national pride now needs to, it doesn't have to just exist in Germany. We can have the Americans. You have part of that in you. We're so much more in common than we have anything different, and these kids are sleeping out in tents. And
you're singing the German songs around
Singing
the campfire.
campfire songs,
Absolutely.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, his struggle was your struggle.
Oof, the Kampf. Yeah, isn't that the thing, right? So now, again, like we said, it's kind of an interesting time for these kids. The boys are training and dressing in military fashion. They're being inundated with speeches and lectures about the superiority of their gene pool. They were encouraged to date German girls and be developed into the future leaders of tomorrow. The Bund and Kuhn were clearly sympathetic to the Nazi government, but on paper said they had no affiliation to Hitler.
Well, to be fair, there was a little bit of diversity there. They didn't just wear the brown shirts; they wore the black shirts too. So there's a little bit of the Italian fascism in there, in with it.
That was, that's how you get. You start bringing the Italian kids around. It's a whole other ball game then.
Well, I mean, yes, Long Island. What are you going to do?
Well,
just because that your uniforms look just like the Hitler Youth uniforms back home in Germany, it's a
brown shirts and black shirts.
It's a nationalistic
brown
pride.
shirts with neckerchiefs. Clean-cut kids, the future leaders of tomorrow. Is this the Boy Scouts, Dad?
Yeah, well, it was
Eagle
initially
Scouts.
tried to be painted that way. Yep.
They certainly did try to have a wholesome image created on that one. I mean, that's terrible, too, for an evil organization to get compared to the Nazis. Teasing. Eagle Scout here. I'm allowed to say that. But so
touchy subject.
Oh, but I don't bump.
Wow.
Well, Kuhn says he has no affiliation to Hitler, but also at the same time, he's taking 50 of his most devout followers on a pilgrimage of sorts, if you will. I know a lot of my Jewish friends, they get that birthright trip where they get to go to Israel. So that's kind of a cool thing. I was hoping when my ancestry report came back, if it was Jewish, then I could get a free trip to Israel out of it. But
usually when you say pilgrimage, I think Mecca.
That's
entirely not
a
the
little
right.
different. Yeah, a little different.
I wish there was an Irish birthright and they would send me to Galway to see where my people came from. But
You got to go kiss the Blarney Stone. That's what you do.
that's my father's hoping that will have the reverse effect and it will take away my gift of gab. So But Kuhn's going to take 50 of the most devout followers on a pilgrimage of sorts to Germany itself in 1936. Dad, why is 1936 an important year in German history?
Well, because 1936, Germany was hosting the Olympics. So it was Hitler's hope that with the 1936 Olympics.
That's when Carl Lewis made him look like an asshole.
Well, a number of
I think it was
different
Jesse
people.
Owens' year too, right?
A number of different people did. But, yeah, it was his hope that, the whole Aryan race picture was going to be further painted as to, we are the masters and we're better than everybody else. And things didn't quite go that way due to Carl, but that was the hope. And, I think it's important that Hitler really did not want to stir up too much shit in America just yet. He was really hoping that with all his aspirations for world domination, that let's make sure that we keep United States neutral. So Kuhn was really not going with the game plan here, that he was speechifying and everything else and stirring up a lot of notice that Hitler, although he wanted the German-American youth to be developed into the future leaders of America, he did not want to piss off the United States to the point where, all right, now we're no longer neutral. We got to cut this shit out. But by 36, things were still, we're neutral and we're going over there. Kuhn goes over there with, like you said, 50 of his most devout American followers, and he's hoping for a big photo opportunity with the Führer and everything else. And it was attributed that Führer called him the American Führer, so at least that's the way the newspapers
and
painted
Kuhn's
him up.
He goes, hey, did you hear what Hitler called me, guys? This guy Hitler, he just loves me. Tells me I'm like him over here, right?
I'm the big cheese. I'm the big swinging dick in the United States as far as
Kind of like how I'm the Colin Quinn of New Jersey.
That's like if a few years ago I was like, hey, KP, I got a film job. Oh, who are you working for, man? I'm assistant to Harvey Weinstein.
Solid.
There you go. There you go.
Well, the camp and Kuhn are starting to appear as more than just this summer retreat, and maybe Kuhn's more than just a community organizer. The Hitler Youth flags, paintings of Hitler, and open discussions of anti-Semitism are a jarring transition away from the beer hall girls and the polka music. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm into blonde-hair, blue-eyed chicks, but at some point I'm going to have to ask, are the Jews really this bad? I mean, I feel like we're focused on... You get me on board with most of your program. It's the whole part about rounding them up and exterminating them all. That, are they really to blame for everything? It sounds like we're jumping to some conclusions here, Little Occam's razor.
Yeah, and when you're at camp, I mean, this wasn't just for kids. This camp was also these... all age brackets, celebrations of all things German. But the summer camp, when you start raising the flags in the morning, because they were very, on paper
regimented,
at least, very pro America. But when you were raising the flag in the morning and you're putting the Nazi flag above the flag of the United States, and you're saluting the flag with the Hitler salute. The one-armed raised in the air.
That's also how they saluted the American flag.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They would raise the flag ceremony in the morning was not quite like Boy Scout summer camp where you're...
No hand over your heart.
Yeah.
Above your head at a 45-degree angle.
There you go.
A little weird side note here, too, is that under duress, someone said, well, how do you guys salute, when they were investigating the camp a little bit, how do you guys salute the American flag? I mean, what's the American salute? And he did the Heil Hitler thing, obviously, like Sieg Heil. And then they asked him, they said, and is that the American salute? And he goes, no, but it will be. They thought they had laid some groundwork.
That's ballsy.
Here. Yeah.
No,
Hans and Fritz
but it will be.
The boys Hans and Franz are going to pump you up in a sense over here. So they got a whole idea going on. Now, it's important to keep mentioning this part, too. Hitler and the Bund are going to keep up their efforts overseas. The young men that joined the ranks of the summer camp are continuing to grow into what Hitler hoped would be the Nazi friends in America. Hitler, again, despite all of his awful ideas, is still being pretty smart here. His hope was for the German-American Bund, that it would instill a strong but stealthy was the idea here, positive idea of the Nazi brand of National Socialism. But our boy Kuhn, anything but stealthy, right, Eric? He had a little...
Oh, he's a sledgehammer.
Yeah, he just wants to put on a show, baby. So regular protests are occurring, and Kuhn's agitation of World War I veterans, many of them Jewish, got a little too much attention to be considered stealthy, to the point where the American Führer seemed to revel in the heat from the gas that he'd been pouring on the fires here. This displeased Hitler. He needed the U.S. to stay neutral, like we said, for the coming war. In fact, it got so bad in late 1938, the Nazis actually put out a formal decree that no German nationals, people who were citizens of Germany, could join the German-American Bund, and that no Swastikas or Nazi propaganda, if you will, or symbols really, could be used by the Bund. That's when you know you're bad, when the Nazis feel like they have to get some distance between you and them because you're starting to get associated with some bad shit.
Right.
Like, Kuhn was... He fucked up. Like, he really did. To the point where I don't know if you're gonna get to what happens.
We're about to get to it.
Okay. Because he's the loser of this whole thing.
We had to have a person. So the idea that there's a Nazi summer camp in Long Island is pretty terrifying. So that's going to draw the listeners in. But then we found Kuhn to be the specific loser for this little weird speck of history.
Now they're pissed off at him at this point. But we're getting to like what, August of 38?
Yeah, you're getting close to 1939, which is the high water mark of what's about to happen for these boys.
Okay, I just want to make sure we don't gloss over that, because that's like the Hulk Hogan, Muhammad Ali, like Springsteen moment. It's like the Metallica moment of the Nazi Party in America.
Well, it's I'm going to set you up for success then, dude. All right? Because I can't wait. 'Cause you know a bunch about this. And there are some, you can watch videos of it on YouTube and stuff like that too. It's kind of cool. But Kuhn revved up the vitriol and decides he's going to etch his name into the history books with a date at the world's most famous arena, Kahuna. Want to guess which one it is?
Madison Square Garden.
You know it, buddy. All right. I wish they would get a basketball
I think
team.
Kuhn is on the laptop. He's,
No, I didn't look it up.
Everyone
he's
knows
reading
MSG.
ahead. He's reading ahead.
Yeah, so Billy Joel, another
even a
Long
little.
Island guy, is going to play his concert collection up there. But another little group from Long Island decides to make their way down to Madison.
Sing us a song about the Autobahn.
Oh man, well it's gonna be hard to top
Now we
that
gotta
one.
fucking redo that whole damn song.
Don't challenge me like that.
No, we're gonna do it in the break.
Well, in 1939, with a crowd of over 20,000 German Americans, the German-American Bund holds a pro-Nazi rally honoring Hitler and using images of George Washington standing next to Hitler to rally the sentiment that Germany was a friend to America. So, big giant painting of George Washington and then a painting of Adolf Hitler right over here next to him.
Have you seen the pictures of
No.
this?
Yeah, it's huge.
Fucking epic.
Yeah.
Like, they went all out for this MSG show. Like, it was WrestleMania, bro.
20,000 white people in MSG. Worst Dave Matthews concert ever.
But at this point, too, in America, public opinion is starting to go against Hitler and Germany because of what Hitler's been up to with annexing parts of Czechoslovakia, and he's making some demands. I don't think they've quite invaded Poland just yet, but their public opinion is starting to sway. The whole German-American Bund was not on the ropes, but people were starting to question, hey, what are these people really all about?
The camp had protesters at it. There was incidents, some violence that's going to be breaking out here too. Now, we have another loserception we're about to get into, which I think is pretty great. So this image of George Washington and Hitler being buddies is kind of a weird thing, It's kind of a strange vibe. Now, the thing is this.
Considering he's been dead for how long?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
you got the father of the United States. The father of our country is George Washington, and he's got this huge portrait behind him on the platform in Madison Square Garden. But who's alongside George Washington is Adolf Hitler, the father of the new Germany.
Because keep in mind, Germany is a relatively brand new idea at the outbreak of World War I. Before that, it was just a bunch of different provinces and such. So, little side note here, too. Germany's making a big push. They're like, well, we're your friends in Europe, We're your friends in Europe. And Americans are sitting like, well, we already got sort of friends in Europe. They're called the British. And, they had to call on us to help out with this war thing too. So, literally there's people still alive that were fighting against the Germans, and it's a strange time over here. They the British got us into a little bit of shit a couple of decades earlier, but you often hear it said when you're talking about a controversial figure or somebody like that, why even give them a platform? All right. And people who do allow extremists to have a platform in the modern sense often suffer more consequences than the extremists themselves, which is a little bit backwards for me. But if you're wondering how and why the Nazis were allowed to hold a rally at the world's most famous arena, it's for one reason, and that's because Fiorello LaGuardia fucking said so.
Yeah, but at that same time, too, it was their First Amendment right of free speech that you can have free speech and express your opinion under the Constitution.
But you can also be dead wrong.
Yeah, you can also be dead wrong. But
This is true.
Right.
It's an ugly part of the freedom experiment. So, and it's also cool too, because this is a loserception for longtime listeners. Our most scholarly effort, Dad, our trilogy on Tammany Hall, you would know that the Little Flower, a.k.a. the mayor of New York, a.k.a. the man who broke Tammany Hall to pieces, is also the same man, and this is again Fiorello LaGuardia. He's the man who allows the Nazis to practice their freedom of speech at Madison Square Garden. He deploys what at the time, and actually I think the record still might hold, is the most police and security ever for an event taking place within New York City. So cops were all over outside dealing with protesters. Violence is breaking out. People are attempting to storm lines and whatnot. The German-American Bund brought in, I shit you not, they had a little military group, a paramilitary wing within their organization. I'll give you one guess, Kahuna, as to what their name was. This group of ground soldiers, if you will, that were ready to get the fight on. All right? Maybe you'd recognize them more if they were wearing some white armor and walking around the Death Star.
Stormtroopers?
I shit you not.
Stormtroopers.
Are you
They
serious?
were called the Stormtroopers.
Absolutely.
Yep. So,
Where did
Absolutely.
Lucas get that name from?
Yeah, I wonder.
and Han Solo had
The evil empire.
his pistol looked like the German Mauser pistol that was used in World War I. There's a lot of crazy stuff there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Which is why there's a lot of spaghetti western stuff in there because of the Japanese iconography and,
Yeah, Lucas stole everything is what we're trying to say.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't steal everything. He
The
sold
stormtroopers
everything.
were just a private security force to guard Herr Kuhn. But what was interesting in the arena, in Madison Square Garden, it was probably 20 to maybe I saw estimates to 22,000 people that were in the in Madison Square Garden.
Now this is the old garden. It's not like it's the new garden.
Correct.
Right.
And they didn't draw. This was like a 90 to 98% draw at the garden.
It's good, important to denote that too, by the way.
You had 20,000 inside. You had 100,000 protesters outside. So to say that you had a large police presence to make sure that they weren't going to storm the garden and just start beating the shit out of a lot of people. Although that was the aim, the gain.
Oh, there were some angry folks about this one.
Almost-
LaGuardia made sure that there wasn't going to be a riot taking place. That's why they had such a large security force. I think LaGuardia's idea was let these guys spew all this hatred and hate speech and everything else, and they're just going to alienate themselves from the rest of the United States.
It's like arguing with a woman. Let her get her stuff out, right? And then once you realize, like, oh no, you're hungry.
And then, the next time that there were that many people pissed off at the garden was when Ewing decided to go with a finger roll instead of a dunk against the Houston Rockets.
Rockets. Man, dude. Again, conspiracy theory Eric is on fire today, folks.
Oh, no.
But again, so you're right, Dad. LaGuardia is saying, well, I'll let these guys talk because, A, we have to protect them. They have rights here in America as much as we don't like the bullshit they're going to say. And but also he's sitting there in the back of his mind. He goes, well, let's let them talk and let everybody realize just how batshit crazy these people are. So sometimes you don't have to win an argument by speaking. You just have to let the loser keep talking. And LaGuardia is going to let him go ahead and do this. LaGuardia, despite being responsible for the safety of the event, was attacked by the keynote speaker. The keynote speaker at this rally in 1939 in Madison Square Garden for the German-American Bund, a pro-Nazi, a pro-Hitler rally. Good old Fritz Julius Kuhn is going to be the keynote speaker.
I'm shocked.
On stage, he's going to go after LaGuardia, too, because LaGuardia was half Jewish. He also called FDR a Jew and mocked him by referring to he called him Franklin D. Rosenfeld. That's a true story.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
And then he referred to FDR's, his trademark iconic legislation that the package he put forth to try to get the country back into place was called what, Dad?
The New Deal,
Or what did Kuhn call it, Dad?
the Jew Deal.
Yeah. This Rosenfeld and his, I like to picture him being like Andrew Dice Clay up there. He just got the cigarette behind his head. He goes, and it's Rosenfeld, was this Jew deal. Oh, I'm over here now.
Yeah.
But he's going after LaGuardia, insulting everyone, claims that the Jews in America were actually the Bolsheviks, right? And why are the Bolsheviks important to evoke emotion from? Because when Russia fell and now was under communist leadership here, the brutal, bloody Russian Revolution that went down was taken out by the Bolsheviks. Now, were there Jewish people amongst the Bolsheviks? Yes. But this whole creepy thing about Lenin and maybe a butcher from Georgia named Stalin.
And the whole mindset at the time, as bad as the fascists are in Italy and in Germany, the communists are even worse. So to be a communist is on a lower scale than a fascist. At least the fascist has some positive things going to a lot of people's mindset. So again, there's like a pecking order of how evil are these guys or how bad are these guys. But there's many people that would proclaim themselves as being fascist because at least we're not dirty freaking red communists. And we just had, one of our red scares from prior to the First World War. So we've been hating communists for a long time now. And the fascists is a relatively new hate. So
fascists to the right of me, commies to the left. Here I am stuck in the middle.
With what?
With you, baby.
I thought you were going to go with the Jewish thing.
No, actually, a lot of Jewish World War I veterans are also.
They were stuck in the middle.
They're definitely in it and they're also fighting in the streets trying to get past these New York City, cops. One Jewish veteran actually gets up on stage and gets the shit kicked out of him by the stormtroopers. So the stormtroopers are attacking this guy.
Threw him like an Ewok.
Yeah, it's pretty much thrown around like that. And then they also strip him down to almost nothing. And if not for the undercover cops that were in there that breaks, to get his, he probably could have been killed at the event. So
only murder inside of MSG.
Yeah, truth. Well, without counting Reggie Miller and the Pacers. Again, though,
yeah, he killed Spike Lee's soul. That's all that happened there.
And that's why I love him for it. But the event was highly publicized and many violent outbursts take place. But if you know anything about LaGuardia, he's going to get you eventually, all right? LaGuardia investigates the Bund for tax fraud and found good old Kuhn had embezzled money from the organization in the thousands, okay, and had spent it on a mistress.
And the Germans didn't like that, did they?
No. Yeah.
You're spending all that money. And, there was...
She better be Aryan.
There's speculation
was she,
that...
though?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't have any info on what she... It'd be hilarious if it was like a Japanese girl or something.
No, it's probably somebody Jewish. It probably was.
It wouldn't shock me, but
that's something we're going to have to look into. But we didn't
help
do the
you make
research
the documentary.
on that one.
All right, listeners, there's your homework. You got to find out.
Yeah.
You find that, we'll make you a guest star on the
Because I
show.
found mistress and I also found mistresses, so he was a multiple. So
Kuhn's slinging some dick, right?
And there was speculation that Nazi Germany is secretly funding the German-American Bund, whether that happened or not, but
1,000%.
1,000%, yeah. But at the same time, I don't think there was really documentation that was brought forward to that. But what was found out was that old Cooney dipped his hand into the cookie jar to use it on mistresses, and they got him for, just as they went after Al Capone for tax evasion, they went after him for stealing money from the German-American Bund Association and got him on tax evasion.
Yeah, the Nazi Party was not happy with what Kuhn did here, and what happened to him was kind of fitting.
Well, before we hit because I know what note you're about to hit, but some weird little thing in history where you have to make sure you read it right twice. You go, hang on, no way, this guy was involved with that. He gets invaded again. The indictment gets handed down to him for this tax fraud, if you will, and embezzlement. The indictment's handed down by Thomas Dewey, who would later run and lose the election against FDR.
Sure, yeah.
No, you're right, Truman.
Truman, Dewey beats Truman.
So the newspapers erroneously printed that Dewey won,
Yeah.
and then there's a great photo of Truman holding that up at one of his press conferences or something, saying that he lost the election. So a little parallels to today too. On some notes on that one. But,
Right, another little interception there.
oh yeah. Well, how weird is it and wild is it that in a year as early as 1939, a guy who is on stage lambasting the Jewish mayor of New York City, and then later in that same year, he gets sentenced to 2 to 5 years in Sing Sing prison.
That's our little fun place to rest your heels on in New York State.
That's that's another great summer camp.
But
it's more than a summer.
he went to a worse camp.
Well, hang on one second, because I'm excited for this. That's going to be probably our final
Like
reveal on this
this
one.
is the bomb here. Like this is like, oh well, what happened to him? Holy shit! Instant karma.
It really is instant karma. And now, also, side note, he's at Sing Sing, which is the very same prison that the Rosenbergs, Jewish spies for Russia, would be sent to and executed. Rosenbergs.
Roosevelt's.
They wind up getting executed up there in that very same prison. You would know that if you're a Patreon listener, because that was one of our first episodes, is on the great history of the Rosenbergs, who committed some of their traitorous acts right here in Eatontown, New Jersey, against the United States government.
Right next door.
Pretty much for Monmouth, baby. Check that out, $5 a month. Less than one large cup of coffee over Dunkin' Donuts. Patreon.
Smooth, man. He slid that in there. Smooth.
That's good.
Smooth as silk.
Kuhn would spend time in jail and upon his release would later get deported back to Germany. I'm going to go ahead and ask you, Eric, what happens to Kuhn when he's back in the fatherland?
When he goes back to the fatherland, well, the Nazi party grabs him by the collar and goes, "Hey, you made us look like assholes. You're going to fucking Dachau. Not Buchenwald, not Auschwitz, Dachau." They send his ass to a fucking concentration camp for what, 10 years?
Something like that, right?
Hard labor.
He lived through it.
10 years hard labor.
Oh, yeah, they weren't going to kill him because he was still technically
No,
a
they
German.
couldn't kill him because, well, it would have been non-German to kill a German for being German. But we'll make you work.
That's right.
He died in 1951.
Yeah, his death was reported as being unheralded, so he never really got to be
they were
famous
just
like he thought.
oh.
Let this guy slide into oblivion. And
Yeah, he wasn't going to be.
he's in the ground.
Yeah, no, he wasn't going to be in Argentina getting married to like 14 different people, and his name was Joseph Mengele.
Mengele, another weird one on that. So, by the way, Mengele and Goebbels both have streets that were named after them around this town. It was eventually changed because, keep in mind, this rally happens 6 months later, I believe. Hitler invades Poland.
This town,
No,
the
no,
one
no,
where we're recording it.
No. It wouldn't shock me, though, to find some of this stuff around here. But anyway, it's important, though, to note this. Once we're now at war with Germany, we realize we're going to have an issue with them. They're being the aggressors over in Europe. That's when public opinion in the United States shifts away towards any sort of sympathetic nature or being apathetic, really, to now saying, all right, this guy's going to be a goddamn problem. So Camp Siegfried and the other Nazi camps, 2 of which were located in what state, Lawrence Patrick Burke?
Well, there was a total of 19 Nazi summer camps throughout the United States, but we had 3 of them here in our own great state of New Jersey. Sorry.
Where, in Middletown?
Not quite, but we had
Perth Amboy.
we had one Camp Bergwald, which is in Bloomingdale, New Jersey. There was another one, Camp Will and Might, in Griggstown, New Jersey. Well, where is Griggstown, New Jersey? It's right near Princeton. So we got some elitists. I think what's important too to understand that in the 1930s, there was over 100,000 German-born immigrants living here in New Jersey. So we had a very strong German population here in New Jersey, and almost a quarter of the citizens of the United States in the United States now were of German descent. So we have a very large German population. And in New Jersey, again, there's over 100,000 German-born immigrants here in New Jersey. But we had 3. We had Camp Bergwald in Bloomingdale, New Jersey. We had Camp Will and Might, which is in Griggstown or near Princeton, New Jersey.
It's a strong name.
And probably one of the more famous and larger camps was Camp Nordland, which was in Andover, New Jersey.
Quick question, Dad. Where did you teach in the 90s?
Andover, Andover Regional School System, Andover, New Jersey. Absolutely.
So you actually...
Yeah, I took it upon myself to do a little hiking around what is now known as Hillside Park. It's been renamed, and we no longer call it Camp Nordland.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. But a very large German rally, if you will, was held in Andover, New Jersey. And they invited some friends in to join in on the celebration. I think it was a July 4th celebration. So it was supposed to be a very pro-America kind of a thing. And we had Kuhn speaking there. But he also invited in some friends who happened to be the KKK. So we had a major league, 20-foot high cross burning in Camp Nordland.
Well, that had to be a sight.
Ain't the first bonfire in Jersey.
Because the German-American Bund had a lot of similar philosophies, if you will.
And we just love your costumes.
for the same KKK.
The flamboyance and everything.
So you had the white hooded guys on the same stage as the black shirts and the rest of the Nazi organizations up there. Initially, the local residents were kind of welcoming these guys. I don't know, it's just like another church group or it's another summer camp like the Boy Scouts. But as the years rolled past and they realized what was going on there with all this hate speeching and everything else, the locals quickly realized that, hey, these guys got to go. So there was the local county prosecutor, sheriff, and everybody else went against these guys to try to draw up whatever they could to get their ouster. And then once Hitler invaded Poland, once the Germans invaded Poland, and the United States came into the war, that was game over for Camp Nordland. But what I thought was great is many of the buildings are now demolished or long gone and just faded back into the woods. You can still see foundations and chimneys and that kind of stuff. This was a major league camp, but the main building where a lot of these rallies were held is still there. Now they don't call it anything other than the barn. And if you want to, you can rent the barn out for
Kind of sounds like the Bund.
for your wedding reception or whatever. So that
Carrie and Crystal, my sisters, my sister-in-law too. You guys, I hope you're listening, because if you can't do the manor in West Orange, we'll take you up to the barn over in Andover.
I thought they booked San Quentin.
They might as well. Now the camp changed its name here. We got to land this plane because we got to get out of here for time constraints. But real quick, LP, think of anything else you want to say on your way out? Eric has a little note. Eric, when did Camp Siegfried close?
Well, North End closed well before Siegfried.
Fucking Eatontown. We're in the other studio today, if you guys can't tell. But
We'll
keep going.
Camp Siegfried, Kahuna, what do you think? Over under.
When it closed?
Over
Yeah,
under.
figure you're
we're gonna end it on
1940s,
this, right?
Yeah.
when you
give
already
the
got the
over-under.
street names,
I'll tell you what.
you had Goebbels Avenue or whatever
That got
it was.
changed right away. So I'll tell you what. I do want to. We're going to end on
Mangala
this
Way.
note.
46. Did it close
1946.
Try 2017.
You're fucking lying.
I wish I was.
Long
In
Island
May
has a history of
2017.
being stubborn.
New York State prosecutors announced that they had reached a settlement with the league to end any discriminatory housing policies and practices.
Because in order to buy property there, they wanted it to be German
It
families.
was basically a community where they were just like
A private community.
it was a private community.
So
where
in
they
order
were
for
just
you,
like, you can only move here if you pass our basically like the boards.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Oh no.
Well, I guess I was really wrong.
It's like Lakewood, New Jersey, but with Germans instead.
Oh, no. Why'd you do that, KP?
It's like Fort Lee if you're not Korean.
That's hilariously enough. My father was born in Fort Lee.
no, he wasn't.
No, he grew up there for a minute. Yeah.
No,
And he fought there in the 50s.
whatever.
Well, I'll say what, guys. This one was a mind blower. Eric's hanging out for another episode with us. We got to start recording that one now so we can get the Kahuna out of here on time. Woo! LP, do you have anything else you want to say to the people on
that's
the way
good.
out?
We're, you start scratching around and you find out some of the things that went on in your own home state or wherever you live. It's an interesting history is a fascinating thing.
So basically what you're saying is there's Nazis everywhere.
All right, some things you like to promote and some things you're better off tamping
letting
that
fade to history.
Right.
I would say the opposite.
Had more for this too.
I would say do you have something else you want to say on the show? Or?
It's way too long. We're wrapping.
Okay, I mean, we got to land this plane just for time's sakes here. But Eric, it was a great guest as always on that one. So Kahuna, great job as always. Thank you to Mike and Ming at A Shared Universe. I hope we didn't ruin everything for you here today, Cahoons, but it is what it is. Lawrence Patrick, great work as always. This was fantastic. Guys, if you like the show and you want to help support us, $5 a month, that's all we're asking for over at Patreon. You want to make a donation, a one-time thing, you could do that too. You want to give more than the $5, hey man, we'll take that, that's fine. But also if you got to do it for 1 month and then bail on another month or something like that, I understand, but every little bit helps. Everything is appreciated. And that's what keeps me able to do this show for free on Tuesdays, is the good people over at Patreon. Also hit us up on social media. It's at American Loser Podcast over on Instagram, at KP Burke Sucks on Instagram, KP Burke over on Facebook. And I'm going to be gone, guys. I'm going to be disappearing down to Jacksonville, Florida. I got a couple of club dates I'm going to be doing while I'm down there in the great state of Florida, which we're going to talk about in this next episode. Another colorful character.
There you go.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that one, man. And thank you so much. My name was KP Burke, and that was Camp Siegfried, American Loser.
An American loser the day I was born. An American loser the day I was born. An American loser the day I was born.